to your home. Luntha Television, bringing wisdom.
Welcome to our news bulletin with me, Robert Kalindiza. But first, the headlines. Pope Leo XIV hails Italian President Sergio Mattarella for his support of the church. Rumpi Central Legislator calls for third mobile network operator to boost competition, improve connectivity, and lower communication costs. Government satisfied with successful, credible, and incident-free 2026 MFCE examination process. And in our exclusive report this week, Charity Chilanga highlights the growing push to strengthen foundational learning in Malawi and across Africa amid concerns over rising learning poverty. Now the news in detail, and straight to our first story. Pope Leo XIV has expressed gratitude to Italian President Sergio Mattarella for his continued attention to the church and the social life of Italy, entrusting him to the protection of the country's patron saints, Francis of Assisi and Catherine of Siena. The Pope did so in a telegram sent on Thursday, 23rd July, to the President of the Italian Republic on the occasion of his 85th birthday. Patrick Pupa is reading a Vatican News report.
The message also conveys the Pope's good wishes, together with his apostolic blessings for President Mattarella's family, his collaborators, and for his beloved Italy. The Holy Father also assured Mattarella of his prayers, entrusting him to the protection of the country's patron saints, Francis of Assisi and Catherine of Siena. Pope Leo visited the Quirinale Palace, the Italian president's official residence, on 14 October 2025, where he delivered an address focused on multilateralism and support for families in Europe, where he noted the birth rate is in marked decline. He also reflected on the wars currently afflicting the world, urging people to look into the faces of the men who have been overwhelmed by the irrational brutality of those who mercilessly plan death and destruction in the numerous conflicts devastating our planet, and to listen to their cry. For his part, President Mattarella highlighted Pope Leo's commitment to the centrality of the human person and to dialogue. Mattarella has reiterated and praised this commitment on several occasions in messages sent to the Pope, including one marking the first anniversary of the beginning of his patron ministry and another for Easter.
Member of Parliament for Rumpi Central, Dr. Matthews Mtumbuka, has called on the government to introduce a third mobile network operator, saying increased competition would improve network connectivity and reduce the cost of communication services in Malawi. Speaking in Parliament on Friday, Ntumbuka said many Malawians are concerned about the rising cost of mobile data, arguing that it is unreasonable for a monthly data bundle to be exhausted within a week. Falis Kizombe has filed this report.
In his remarks, Ntumbuka said despite the presence of TNM and Airtel, many people continue to experience poor internet and mobile network services, adding that the country needs another operator to improve service delivery and expand reliable network coverage. He further said that with millions of Malawians relying on mobile phones for communication, business, and access to online services, introducing another network provider would increase competition, improve service quality, and help lower the cost of data bundles.
A new operator coming in is very easy to roll out. The problem has been that we've not been giving license to big mobile companies. So my question was, if you look in Malawi, recently prices of telecom industries have gone up a lot. My barber man was telling me that a bundle he used to use a month is now lasting 1 week only. So people are complaining in Malawi, and I know the reason is that Airtel and TNM are enjoying dominance. We need to shake them a little bit by bringing a serious operator.
Member of Parliament for Mangochi Lutende Louis Malukula supported the proposal, saying the introduction of a third mobile network operator would foster competition and make data bundles and other communication services more affordable. Responding to the concerns, Minister of Information and Communication Technology Shadrack Namalomba said the government has already approved plans to invite bids for a third mobile network operator and is seeking a credible investor capable of rolling out network infrastructure without delay. Namalomba said the government is also reviewing its licensing framework to attract serious investors while promoting infrastructure sharing among mobile network operators to improve coverage and service quality. He added that previous licenses were revoked after some companies failed to establish operations despite acquiring spectrum, saying the new licensing process will ensure that only investors with financial and technical capacity to deliver quality services are awarded licenses.
There are certain issues that go beyond funding. Is that we have had only two dominant players in the industry, TNM and Airtel. And for us to have a vibrant market, we need to have a diversified market where you have a number of players. It's not like government hasn't taken a lead in making sure that it opens up the mobile industry. No. For over the years, since 1999, we have licensed operators. We have licensed people to come here and operate. But those that we license, what happens is that they'll get the license. We give them conditions that maybe in 24 months you must roll out. They don't roll out.
The call comes as Malawians continue to experience poor network connectivity and internet services from the country's two mobile network operators, Airtel Malawi and TNM. Reporting for Luntha News, this is Falis Kizombe.
The Malawi Health Equity Network, MEHIN, and the Universal Health Coverage Coalition Health, UHCC, has urged Malawians not to let their guard down in the fight against malaria despite a sharp decline in cases, warning that delayed treatment, misuse of mosquito nets, and theft of malaria medicines could reverse the gains. MEHIN Executive Director and UHCC Chair George Jobe has made the remarks as the country has recorded a 72% reduction in malaria cases and a 51% decline in malaria-related deaths during the first 6 months of 2026 compared to the same period last year. Clara Kanzati has filed this report.
Jobe has welcomed the figures, describing them as evidence that the country's malaria control strategies are working. He commended the Ministry of Health, the National Malaria Control Program, health surveillance assistance, community health workers, and development partners, including the U.S. President's Malaria Initiative, the Global Fund, and GAV, for their contribution to the achievement. Jobe has, however, cautioned that delayed treatment, misuse of insect-treated mosquito nets, reports of theft, and diversion of malaria medicines remain major challenges. He also urged Malawians to seek treatment promptly when they develop malaria symptoms, sleep under treated mosquito nets every night, and ensure eligible children receive malaria vaccine doses where available.
We warmly welcome the significant reduction in the malaria cases and deaths, which have been communicated by the Ministry of Health and Sanitation. According to the statement by the Ministry, malaria cases declined by 72%, comparing the periods of January to June 2025 and January to June 2026. And also, it is pleasing to note that malaria-related deaths also reduced by 51%.
According to the Ministry of Health and Sanitation, Malawi also recorded a 51% reduction in malaria-related deaths during the first half of 2026 compared to the same period last year. The Ministry of Health has attributed to the decline to sustained investment in primary health care, strong community health systems, and effective malaria interventions. For Luntha Television News in Lilongwe, this is Clara Kamzat.
The Human Resources for Health Coalition, HRHC, has raised concern over a critical shortage of essential personal protective equipment, PPE, in health facilities across the country, warning that discretion is compromising healthcare service delivery and exposing frontline workers to serious health risks. Speaking to Luntha Television, HRHC chairperson Solomon Chomba said hospitals have for months been operating without adequate supplies of examination gloves, face masks, surgical spirit, aprons, and other essential protective equipment. Emmanuel Chuocha reports.
Chomba described the situation as a public health crisis, saying the lack of PPEs has left healthcare workers vulnerable while carrying out their duties. He has since appealed to the Minister of Health to treat the matter as an emergency and immediately provide the health facilities with necessary protective equipment to safeguard both health workers and patients.
We know this is a very serious situation, and I believe government will take this serious issue very seriously. And we call upon government, Ministry of Health, the hospital directors, the DHSs, and all responsible officers, whether central medical stores, to take this thing as an emergency. They have to quickly act by providing emergency resources, whether through Ministry of Finance, for an emergency supply of these PPEs, failure which we fear another crisis coming forth.
Commenting on the development, social commentator Lagembewe described the state of the country's health facility as alarming, urging the Minister of Health to act swiftly to prevent avoidable loss of lives and further deterioration of health services.
Indeed, as a country, we're going through difficult and tough situations with regard to status of health services, especially when we talk about public hospitals. If you recall, this may not be the first time. Previously, we have had such kind of instances where situation of a similar nature has been very common and prompted some of us as health rights also activists in our other circles to come in and engage the government to make sure that they take necessary measures to come in and address the situation. So for this call by the coalition, it is a timely intervention. I would like to stand with them and appeal to the government to make sure that they prioritize issues of health.
Meanwhile, the Human Rights Resource for Health Coalition says it will continue monitoring the situation in line with the Occupation Safety, Healthy and Welfare Act of Malawi, which guarantees every healthcare worker the right to a safe and a healthy working environment. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Emmanuel Georgia.
You are watching news on Luntha Television. We'll be back after this short break. If you have just joined us, know that you are watching news on Luntha Television. Now a reminder of the top stories. Pope Leo XIV hails Italian President Sergio Mattarella for his support of the church. Luntha Central Legislator calls for third mobile network operator to boost competition, improve connectivity, and lower communication costs. Government satisfied with successful, credible, and incident-free 2026 MSCE examination process. And in our exclusive report this week, Charity Chilanga highlights the growing push to strengthen foundational learning in Malawi and across Africa amid concerns over rising learning poverty. And continuing with the news, the Minister of Education, Science and Technology says it is satisfied with the successful administration of the 2026 Malawi School Certificate of Education MSCE examinations, describing the process as credible, smooth, and largely incident-free. Speaking in an interview with Luntha Television, Minister responsible Bright Msaka said government is pleased with the manner in which the examinations were conducted across the country. Judith Organ has filed a report read by Tandiwe Nzumara.
Msaka said the examinations, which started on the 29th of June and concluded on the 24th of July, were successfully completed, adding that the development demonstrates government's commitment to protecting the integrity of the education system and ensuring learners are assessed in a fair and transparent environment.
First and foremost, that the examinations have gone extremely well. We must identify these talents early enough and begin to nurture them. So if somebody would want to be a mechanic, to be a technician, somebody fixing telephones, somebody fixing fridges, somebody fixing cars and things like that, all those talents must be identified early enough, and then we begin to shape that child in that direction.
The minister also commended learners pursuing technical subjects, saying Malawi needs both academic and technical professionals to drive development. Msaka said government will continue promoting skills development by identifying and nurturing learners' talents from an early stage.
The Malawi Revenue Authority, MRA, has urged members of the public to always request electronic invoicing system receipts whenever they purchase goods or services, saying this will promote transparency, improve tax compliance, and ensure VAT collected by businesses is properly accounted for and remitted to government. MRA Public Relations Officer Wilma Chalulu made the remarks on Thursday in Lilongwe during a media training on the electronic invoicing system, EIS, where she disclosed that the authority has exceeded its first quarter revenue target for the 2026-2027 financial year by about 20 billion kwacha after collecting 1.398 trillion kwacha against a target of 1.379 trillion kwacha. Gift Kalonga has more in this report.
Chalulu explained that the exceeding of its target is in attribution to improved tax administration, expressing confidence that new measures such as the electronic invoicing system, EIS, will further enhance revenue collection and tax compliance, as the authority will be able to monitor transactions more efficiently while helping VAT-registered businesses maintain accurate tax records. She also urged members of the public to always request electronic invoicing system receipts whenever they purchase goods or services, saying this will promote transparency, improve tax compliance, and ensure VAT collected by businesses is properly accounted for and remitted to government. Chalulu also urged the media to take an active role in educating the public on the new system, while encouraging customers to always request EIC receipts to promote accountability.
So there are various new tax measures that have been introduced, which today we were highlighting, which today we were elaborating to the media. So we are very hopeful that these new tax measures, along with the other initiatives that MRA has introduced as well, for example, the electronic invoicing system, which is a new system that has been introduced to account for VAT revenues. We are also hopeful that with these new technologies, MRA will achieve its target.
The electronic invoicing system is an online platform that replaces the electronic fiscal device EFD system introduced in 2013, describing it as modern technology designed to improve the administration of value-added tax, VAT. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Gift Kalonga.
Across Africa, governments are racing to expand access to education. Yet a growing concern is emerging. Millions of children are attending school without acquiring the basic skills needed to read, write, and perform simple calculations. This challenge, commonly referred as learning poverty, is affecting learners across the continent. Reports indicate that in many parts of Africa, up to 9 out of 10 children cannot read and understand a simple text by the age of 10. Education experts warn that unless countries strengthen fundamental and learning, particularly from Standard 1 to Standard 4, the continent risks producing generations of learners who struggle to process through the education system and progress and contribute meaningfully to economic development. At Nkwichi Primary School in Lilongwe, targeted interventions in literacy, numeracy, and technology are demonstrating how this challenge can be addressed. In this week's special report, Charity Chilanga takes a closer look at the importance of fundamental learning, the challenges facing early education, and why educational leaders across Africa are calling for increased investment to ensure every child acquires essential skills from the earliest stages of learning.
The number is 452.
The first years of education are widely considered the foundation upon which a child's academic journey is built. At Nkwichi Primary School, efforts to strengthen foundational learning are being supported through key programs focusing on literacy, numeracy, and digital learning under the Building Education Foundations through Innovation and Technology, commonly known as BEFIT. The school's head teacher, Bernard Matemba, says the combination of these programs has transformed learning outcomes, with learners becoming more confident in reading, writing, and expressing themselves.
We have 3 programs. We have numeracy programs, we have literacy programs, and we have the digital, which is also called BEFIT. These programs work together. Mainly BEFIT support the 2 programs because in BEFIT the learners, they do learn on their own what is also being taught in the class by the teachers. And these programs have helped a lot at our school. Mainly the learners, they are able to read, they are able to write, and able to express themselves confidently.
However, despite the progress, Mademba says the school continues to face challenges, including inadequate infrastructure, limited teaching and learning materials, and the need for more teacher training to effectively support learners.
As you have seen, we have only 1 class from standard 1 to 8. We have 1 stream, and the number of learners are many. So we need more infrastructure at this school, and we need more trainings for the teachers. And we need teaching and learning materials to support these 3 programs.
The impact of the programs at Mkwichi Primary School impressed education leaders who visited the institution to appreciate Malawi's approach to improving foundational learning. Namibia's Deputy Minister of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture, Dino Balot, says what he witnessed at the school demonstrates the importance of investing in early learning.
I can tell you that I'm overly impressed, specifically with Mkwichi Primary School. The conversations we had with the head teacher, observing firsthand the classroom session, truly it's inspiring. And one can see why this is considered one of the very best schools in Malawi. So again, different forms of learning. I always say being resourceful and using what we have at our disposal. But again, one can see why this is really one of the outstanding schools in the country. You know, to invest, not to spend, but to invest in foundational learning is to give a young person the opportunities to move forward in life. So I agree, and I will say that foundational learning really needs to be well resourced, and it needs to be fundamental for any African country.
For the Gambia's Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, Dr. Habibatu Dremi, African countries must ensure that resources allocated to education are used efficiently to prepare children at the foundational level.
We as African leaders as a continent need to ensure that the resources that are used in education are used efficiently and is also able to yield results that's able to prepare the African child at the foundational level to enable them easily transit in tertiary and higher education. Prepared enough, of course, to catch up with the challenges of the world, as we saw in the data. The African population growing by 2050 and the demands for jobs, demands for the African child succeeding are very high. So hopefully African leaders will all step up to ensure that we prepare the future of Africa to stand the test of time.
Education governance experts say the challenges facing foundational learning are not only about access to schools, but also about ensuring that children actually acquire the skills they need. Education Director for Link for Education Governance, Dr. Limbani Sabato, describes the situation as a learning crisis where many children attend school but fail to learn. Sabato says countries needed to strengthen teacher training, reform curricula, and provide sustainable financing to ensure that learning improvements are maintained over time.
Globally, we have a learning crisis, and the different countries need to find solutions to this because the issue is that we have many children that are going to school but they are not learning. And if you see the results of various assessments, they are saying even up to 2/3 of the students, they go to school and they don't learn. And I think as a result, countries are wasting resources because they are putting money and yet the results are not coming. So we need to focus on the teachers. We need to train our teachers so that they can deal with the students and provide maybe remedial opportunities and also use various approaches in teaching, especially those that are participatory, so that the learners can understand.
The call for increased investment has also been echoed by the country's Minister of Education, Science and Technology, Blight Nsaka, who says commitment to foundational learning must be demonstrated through national financing. Nsaka says while development partners play an important role, countries must take ownership of education programs to ensure sustainability.
We now give you the weather update compiled by our colleague Noel Banda.
Hello, and it's time for the weather forecast. It was very cold area this morning. Temperatures dropped to around 7 degrees as the minimum temperature for Malingunde and Longwe. Kare Forest, Tedze recorded 9 degrees, 10 over Kamzashima Airport, so 2 Vumbo and Cholo, 11 over Dedza and over Bolero. We should expect cold weather conditions coupled with windy and partly cloudy conditions with isolated rains and drizzles over some parts. We should also expect minor winds to be blowing over our lake waters. This is an advisory fishermen and lake users to take all the side precaution measures. This so because of high pressure area over southeast coast of South Africa expect to pump quite most air into Malawi to increase cloudiness, windy conditions coupled with isolated rains and showers. So for tonight, we should expect windy conditions, clouds will be seen here and there, particularly over southern and central parts of Malawi. Temperature might drop during 1 hour to around 12 degrees as the minimum temperature for Dedza and Lilongwe, around 14 over Blantyre, Somba and Mulanje, so 2 Kasungu and changing mild conditions will be there over lake areas, Gabu and over Nsanje, with minor winds over the lake. Windy conditions are expected during 1 hour and increase in cloudiness with some rain showers and rain drizzles starting from southern areas progressively moving into central parts of the country. With winter conditions to persist even into the afternoon tomorrow, temperatures just peak just to around 24 degrees as the maximum temperature for Blantyre, Zomba and Mulanje, around 29 over Mangochi and Salima. Expect warm weather conditions over Mzuzu and Rumpi with 22 degrees. It will be winter again later into the afternoon hours with some rain drizzle and rain showers over southern areas, which will later on spread into some parts of central Malawi. Looking further into Sunday, windy conditions will persist with minor winds over the lake, isolated rains and drizzles over some parts. Well, that's it for tonight. Keep warm and have a good night.
Well, that marks the end of our bulletin. I am Robert Kalindiza. Continue enjoying the rest of our programs here on Luntha Television.